Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to the Centurions Review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. This is Operation Pegasus from Task Force Games. It's Task Force Game number 8. Operation Pegasus, if I recall correctly, was an operation to relieve Khe Sahn after the bulk of the combat operations were done there. I personally believe Khe Sahn was an NVA diversion for the Tet Offensive, meaning they wanted to force a lot of troops up north so they'd have better success in the Tet Offensive. Well, it didn't work. The Marines were able to hold their own without any outside help other than air support from the Air Force, but anyhow, I think a secondary thing they wanted to do is they knew that the Americans were going to have to relieve the Marines eventually at Khe Sahn, so I personally believe they were planning on setting up a ton of ambushes on roads on the way there and stuff, but the 101st Airborne got around that by just flying out several brigades to the area over a 3-day period, so I personally believe they avoided a lot of ambushes by doing so, but this is just speculation. You can disagree if you want, but that's what I think. But anyhow, let's get to the game. The relief of Khe Sahn. In the spring of 1968, 2 full North Vietnamese divisions surrounded Khe Sahn, a small Marine fire base near the Laotian border. One of these divisions blocked the only road into Khe Sahn and the siege began. The North Vietnamese hoped to force the Americans into a long ground drive to relieve the fort, a drive that would result in massive American casualties. But the North Vietnamese High Command did not realize what a full division of helicopters could do to a conventional defensive position. So it looks like they agree with me that the NVA wanted to set up a lot of ambushes and stuff to kill a lot of the people relieving the outposts. So anyhow, let's take a look at the game. I've had this for a while. I've never really looked through it. I've never read the rules or anything. Task Force Games did a lot of fantasy games and a lot of science fiction microgames also, but they did do a few historical ones as far as microgames. They did this one. They did another World War II one that was on the East Front. I forget what it was called. I got a copy of that somewhere. Counters are really simple. For that time period, I guess they're alright, but it's from 1979, it says on the bottom here. Material's not too thin. It's actually a halfway decent thickness, so that's good. Let's see what else we got in here. This is an interest. This is a vinyl material. This is a combat results table. And the other side has the terrain effects chart. That's good. We'll get a little advertisement here. I got quite a few of these, most of these games actually. I didn't know they had a War of the Worlds one. That's interesting. Intruder, that's a fantastic game. Cool. Oh, here's the World War II one I told you about, Prokhorovka. Valkenburg Castle, I've played that. That's a nice game. Didn't like the map much, but the game's not bad. Looks like you record casualties here. That's interesting. And then U.S. Arvin casualties. So, are they doing a... what are they... Are you supposed to calculate like a kill ratio or something with this at the end of the game, I'm wondering? They were big into that in that war, the kill ratios and stuff. Kill ratio for this battle was, I think the Allies killed 26 for every one of theirs killed, so... Let's take a look at this map. Here's where you put NVA units in Laos, destroyed units, turn record, track, helicopter status, display. U.S. units at LV Stud, and let's see if we can see the hex part. I wonder if, is it, what, is this a river here? What is this? Not sure what all this represents. Oh, here's Long Vey down here. This is a Special Forces camp. Oh, here's Khe Sahn up here. Okay, now it's making sense. Alright, that's cool. Yeah, the maps back then, this actually looks pretty good for a map from 1979. I've seen far worse. Obviously, it's not as good as the maps nowadays, but the printing technology wasn't as good. So let's see the rule book. How many pages is it? 18 pages, that's not bad. Starts out with the background of the battle, introduction to the game, and then it's talking about the components. And here's the sequence of play. U.S. player phase, reinforcements, helicopter segment, airstrike segment, movement segment, combat segment, and then you go to the NVA phase, which is reinforcements, movement, and combat. And now it's going over movement, zones of control, and it's going over combat. Looks like there's a panic table too, and results of panic, and there's even tear gas in here, artillery and mortars, B-52 airstrikes, awesome. Looks like this is an airstrike table here, and you got hidden units. That makes sense because the NVA were good at hiding, spotting and dummy markers, Yeah, and that war, a lot of the time was spent just trying to find the enemy. Engineers, mines, and highway Route 9. Engineers, clearing mines, hexes, helicopters, helicopter status display. There's even recon helicopters. It's got quite a bit to it for a little micro game. Helicopter transportation, LZs and firebase psychosis. What the hell? I'll have to read up on that later. That's interesting terminology. Combat helicopter supply scenarios, the assault on Long Bay Special Forces Camp. Yeah, they did recapture that. And then the historical scenario here. And then one called Ground Drive. So you got 3 scenarios. And some designer notes. It was made by Perry Moore. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, the last, the Prokhorovka Task Force Games micro game I played about the East Front, that was a nice game, so hopefully this one will be too. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please click like on it, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. And as always, have a good evening.